16 sticks of dynamite between the church and his bed, which, they had those row houses, I guess they call them, shotgun houses. And they put the bomb there and it blew up.
Hello, everyone. My name's Matt Young. I want to quickly introduce myself. This is a new podcast and video cast going on several different platforms.
Yeah.
And we think we may be just a little bit unique. Once again, my name's Matt Young. I pastor a church in Amelia, Ohio. And I'm joined with my dear friend, one of my closest friends in the entire world. This is Pastor Steve Bester, and he pastors Greater New Light Baptist Church in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
good to
sir.
have you here today.
Good
my
to
friend.
be here, man. And again, thank you for that introduction. Again, third generation preacher. My grandfather, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, founded the church in January of 1966. He pastored for 40 years to 2006, passed to my dad, who was his assistant for those years. In 2006 to 2020, he pastored, and then we came in right when COVID started hitting in. So yeah, been there since January 2020. But when we met you guys back in, was it 2021? I'm somewhere
Something
in there.
like that.
Our lives have changed forever, which is why I'm glad to be
Well,
here today.
I want to point something out. A lot of people say their lives change after they meet me, but not in a good way. So, what I love about you, you have such great humility. And a lot of people may have missed who your grandfather was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth. And if you don't know who he is, I invite you to pause the video, but you have to come back. Go Google. Google's amazing.
Oh, man.
And Fred Shuttlesworth
Yes.
is probably one of the most recognizable icons of the civil rights movement in the United States that have impacted our culture and the world. And so he and Martin Luther King and
Right there on the front
Rosa
lines.
Parks
Yes.
and all of them, they were right there.
Oh, yeah.
So real quick, today on this episode, we're really going to spend some time talking about your heritage and my heritage.
Yeah.
But your family's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yes, little cove outside of Birmingham called Oxmoor. They got like $500,000 houses now, but it was a little podunk little town back in the day, and they lived out on a farm. They had pigs and all kind of crops, and that's where he was born and raised.
Now
His
that's
mother.
starting to sound like I'm from.
That's what I'm saying. We're twins separated at birth. They won't believe us, though. Nobody will believe
Everybody,
this.
I don't understand.
The stars aligned somewhere, man.
So-
I'm telling you, we got too many like qualities and like patterns in our lives. So, but yeah, he's at Oxmoor, Alabama, and he was in Birmingham during the height of the Ku Klux Klan movement in our country, where they were just pretty much doing whatever they wanted. So much so that the commissioner of Birmingham Police and Fire, if I'm not mistaken, Bull Connor, was a Klansman himself. So anytime you call the police to come get these Klansmen, he's like, click, disconnect, it's Verizon. Can you hear me now? He would not. You're calling for help. And so Fred Shuttlesworth was dogged and determined that I'm not going to live like this. We pay the same taxes. We're expected to work. I could work on a job with a man. He makes $5 an hour and I make $1 an hour. What is that? And so his thing was that we're going to stop this. So he heard Rosa Parks and doing her thing with the bus movement. He thought, well, here in Birmingham, we're going to get this done. And so he started marching and protesting and marching on the city council to let them know, hey, the black citizens deserve better. They had them kind of boxed in with the way that they built black communities back then. Birmingham has a lot of train movement going through there. And so the trains were blocked. So you could be an hour sitting there and then you're late for work. You get fired for being late because the train boxed me in. It sits all night and never moves. How am I supposed to get out to get to work? But again, that's not our problem. It's yours because, again, Bull Connor was that white society that, whatever you can do to oppress them, do that. And so it got to the point where he started having meetings down in Birmingham, Alabama to say, there's a movement now for civil rights. And that's what he formed. And it formed at Old Bethel out there in Collegeville, Alabama. And he formed the people, the church galvanized and got people together. The funny part about this is when he moved here to Cincinnati, he didn't know that one of his friends from Birmingham, Alabama would be instrumental in my life. We'll talk about that in another episode, but it was a church called the the AOH Church, Apostolic Overcoming Holy Church of God. Bishop Jasper Roby was the presiding bishop there in Birmingham. Well, Fred, y'all need somewhere downtown. We got the biggest black church. Come on over here. Now, this Baptist pastor Shuttlesworth over here with this apostolic pastor, and he's walking, and they were boys, they were great friends. So go 30 years forward. I started playing for an AOH church, not knowing anything about him and my grandfather's relationship. He shows up, and then they asked for Fred to come and have words that night. Fred Shuttlesworth to have words, and he comes in and goes, Jasper, how you doing? Now, Bishop is always, it's like the Pope, and everybody's like, he's calling him Jasper because that's how they knew each other. During the movement, he helped the black church. The black church came to the apostolic church to help get a galvanization of thousands of people to march. And so again, going back from that, he fought so hard to the point where he was known in Birmingham. And so what happened was his voice wasn't getting out fast enough or far enough because of the blockage. And so he called for Martin Luther King to come and give us national attention to all these dogs that are coming in.
When was this period? Was it the 50s?
The 50s, exactly. Late 40s, early 50s. Just so many stories that haven't been written or talked about. But again, he fought because he's in the heart of it. So he calls Martin Luther King in. And of course, the Birmingham, the letter from the Birmingham jail, that was because Fred Shuttlesworth called him into Birmingham to get national attention to this thing that Bull Connor's not going to call the National Guard on himself. So
no.
Martin Luther King now comes in, and all of a sudden now, oh, wait, the nation, Kennedy, we're seeing all this on film. They're doing this to children. They're doing this to people, sticking dogs on them, fire hoses 2 feet away. He got his lung collapsed one day because, again, it's too many stories to get into it. This podcast will be all day. But the point that he wanted to make was, we got to stop this. And he was determined, come hell or high water, we're going to get this done. And so that was his claim to fame, I guess you could say. But he didn't want any fame. He just wanted freedom for his people. And so Martin Luther King coming in to get that national attention, then the Civil Rights Act, I think it was 1964. It all started back in the 50s when they were doing these things in Birmingham to show we're not gonna take this anymore.
So you're telling me the video clips that I seen in high school and in college, I remember seeing the dogs and the hoses and the marches. So what's crazy, if you would have told me, I graduated high school in 1993, don't judge me.
Baby boy.
I'll be 50 this year.
Look at you.
1 month.
Looking 40. I see you, Pastor.
So if you would have told me, studying what I studied, that you and I'd be sitting here so many years later, and you and I sitting connecting.
Yeah, man.
And it was your grandfather that was responsible, played a huge part in that movement. That's incredible.
Big time.
What a heritage.
And again, I love him dearly. Again, he, like Jesus Christ, he came to make himself no reputation. He didn't want fame. But after he got older, the mayor, I think it was Mayor Langford of Birmingham, petitioned, and they got the Birmingham airport named after him. They put this 9-foot statue down outside the Birmingham Civil Rights.
I saw a picture the other day of your mom and your aunts and uncles around that. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it, Google it. So the Birmingham International
Civil Rights Institute is where the statue is, but the Birmingham International was the Birmingham Shuttlesworth International Airport, named in his honor, man.
The city's airport, an international airport named after your grandfather.
He was that important to that city. And my youngest son always says that we're famous in Birmingham, and his mother has to remind him, no, your grandfather's famous. But again, because when we go, it's limousines everywhere, red carpet everywhere we pull up, because he was the one who just got out in front of all this. And the leaders there would tell you, no, Fred was our leader. I mean, it wasn't a thing of who's going to lead the day or the next. No, he got out there and said, no, we're going to fight you. And I was telling you to the point that when the AOH church invited me in, but they used to meet in like a civic center. And when they would meet, they would be meeting in one room, and the Ku Klux Klan would be meeting in the next room.
Get out.
So Fred Shuttlesworth told somebody at the door, when Bull Connor goes to the bathroom, I'm going to the bathroom. And so Fred, he's going, and he went, and he was standing right in the stall next to him, and he basically, I'm showing you, I'm not afraid of you. And basically, when their house got bombed, Christmas night, 1956.
That's something a lot of people are not aware of, and of course your mother and your aunts and your uncle would come to church here, and do special services for us, and so many people wasn't even aware that happened. So it was Christmas night, 1956.
Well, he had planned December 26th to march against the bus segregation anyway, to be on the buses, because Rosa Parks started it back when she did hers in Montgomery, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then so he in Birmingham, so we're going to do it on the day after Christmas. So they said we're going to kill him the night before. So the Christmas night, they're in the house. He, my aunts, my mom, my uncle, and 16 sticks of dynamite between the church and his bed, which they had those row houses, I guess they call them, shotgun houses, and they put the bomb there and it blew up. Not a scratch to anyone. There's pictures to show the house leaning, and he came out, and so one of the policemen who was a Klansman said, Pastor, he said, I didn't think they'd go this far. He said, I want to apologize on behalf of, they did it. I knew about it, but I couldn't say anything. But he said, if I were you, Pastor, I would get out of town. And he said, Reverend Shuttlesworth, this is where he galvanized. He said, you go back and tell your Klansman brother, if God could keep me through this, I'm here for the duration. And the rest is history. And he stayed, and he was, even when they moved to Cincinnati, he was always, I think it was TWA back then, always flying back to Birmingham to make sure, because he had to finish what he started. And Birmingham now is one of the greatest cities down there because a man like Fred Shuttlesworth. And so anytime they bring my mother and my aunt and my uncle, well, he's gone to glory, but when they bring the children down, that when they treat them like royalty because their father stood, and now here we are today having this whole new political crisis. And wow. But yeah, I'm just glad God yoked us up for a Black History program.
And we're going to cover that in just a little on another episode.
Okay.
About
jump ahead.
No, you can jump ahead all you want. You're Steve Bester. You can do anything you want.
The Black Mac, yeah.
You
We ain't gonna tell nobody. Shh, don't tell nobody.
it's somebody might be saying, well, why are we talking about this right now? It's your wife and my wife that made us sit down and do these podcasts.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know what they're called. I'm technology
podcast, I guess. Yeah. But
social
the
media.
Preachers, yeah, something.
I think Facebook is still too advanced for me.
Listen, man, I'm just still learning. She calls me Bishop Facebook. I'm like, why? It's entertainment, but again.
Yeah, and I think we're both on TikTok now.
Yes, we are.
Look at us.
We are.
Yeah.
Another star.
Follow us.
Stevie Bester.
Pastor Matt Young. I don't know why it's Pastor Matt. I'm like, take the pastor. I just want to be Matt Young.
They got to differentiate, But anyway.
The reason why I think this is important, why I wanted to talk about this, is because we are at a time where it's time to break down walls, especially in the church world.
Big time.
And also in our faith-based communities. And that's what we're going to cover in the next few episodes. Mm-hmm. Honoring where we came from.
Yes, yeah.
I think about that's 70 years ago, but that's a long time ago. But that's really not that long time ago.
Generation, right?
We're talking about fire hoses and dogs and the KKK and bombing houses and right out in public, and no one tried to hide it.
Known as Birmingham, and we talk about the 4 little girls that got killed in that church. That church was bombed into the movement because, again, it was one of the biggest Black churches downtown, and that was meant for the congregation, but they got them during Sunday school. Fortunately, if I could say it like that, I mean, no disrespect to those girls who lost their lives and the other families affected, but that's what they wanted to make a big KK basic Black folk get out of Birmingham. And they're saying, no, this is our time. We were born and raised here.
Praise God.
A man named Shuttlesworth taught them, no, we can fight this. And you see what Birmingham is today, a great city.
It is, and now what I love about you, my friend, you and your family. Number one, you're honoring the past, and you're looking at the methods that we had to do back then, or you had to do, and your family. But now it's a new era, but the fight still goes on.
Exactly.
And I think really, the only way that we're going to progress, especially in the church world, forget about the church, but just for humankind in general, is break down the walls and really have transparency about why we think the way we think, how we think the way we think, and we just need to be. And what I found is if we look past all the craziness and the rhetoric, we're usually on the same page.
We cut ourselves, we both bleed red.
Yeah.
And that's, you just said it. It's not Black, it's not white. The racial divide, again, and I say this all the time, the Black race, the white race, Hispanic race, Asian race. What about the human race?
Yes.
That's what he came. If my people were called by my name,
come on,
we all got one. But again, that's the bloodline that the nation tried to get him out of the schools. But then Here comes September 11th. Now we can say Jesus. Well, again, it takes a tragedy to bring him back into the what we in God we trust. But it's a lot of it's a lot of red tape here, Matt. And that's one thing that I think that we can help people to see. We're not that dissimilar. We're all very similar in a lot of the ways that we do things, the way we exercise. But again, the perception becomes reality when you don't know. So,
some of them, and we'll talk about this in another episode of how our churches came together. So different, completely different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So I honor you and your family, and we're going to learn a lot more. The stories are amazing. When I sat and listened about how your mom and Pat and Carolyn and Fred Jr. were put in jails, and they separate.
To live through it. I mean, you hear and read stories or see it on a documentary somewhere, but yeah.
Tell me about your mom. Your mom, I don't love this story, but I like to hear the story because it's a testament of how strong your family is. So they were integrating the school systems back in Alabama in the 50s, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your grandfather and grandmother, who have both gone on to be with the Lord right now, were enrolling the kids
in an all-white
school.
Phillips High School, yeah.
Tell me about the events of that day.
And that was a tragic story from the standpoint of, but I mean, again, the courage of Fred Shuttlesworth. My children gonna go wherever they want to go. Let me put it that way. He didn't always use the sermon word, but wherever they want to go.
That's my kind of preacher.
And I love him. And so he said, and so the Klan all found out that he was going to do it that day, and he wanted it that way. So my grandmother, there was a deacon driving them, and my mother and aunt were in the back seat. And so they pull up, and these guys. He said the first time he saw brass knuckles, he was being hit by them. He had brass knuckles, chains, bats, whatever they could have their fists. It just, I would say 30, 40, maybe 50 white males out, men and women. And so they pull up, and he says, y'all stay in the car. So he's going to get out and go do what he needs to do. Well, all of a sudden, they start hitting him with all these bats and chains and brass knuckles. My grandmother gets out, and it's on a film somewhere. I think CBS or somebody might have it. But she's taking her purse, and she's wailing on people like,
I love it.
My husband. And so then her daughters, Pat's trying to get out, and the deacon wouldn't let her out. My mother did manage to get her ankle out. But as she got her ankle out, the deacon closed the door like, get back, and didn't know her ankle. And so her ankle was crushed in that. And so she can't wear heels today. But again, it's that whole.
Still walks with that limp.
That limp is.
There's a Bible scripture on that.
Come on here.
To remind us where we come from.
Come on here.
Come on.
Be careful. Who dropped you? And so she understands that. It was him that was fighting, but their family, they got phone calls 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Is Reverend in the city or the county jail? And they always had to be nice. They couldn't hang up on people, couldn't cuss people out. And so it's, people with, and those Southern accents. And my mother, it takes her to do it. It's Reverend in the city or the county jail. And I laugh, but it was like Flo from the movie, the show Alice.
Yes,
Imagine that.
yes.
She said that's all. We would get 2 a.m, a lady, I guess it was an operator or whatever, but they would call and harass them. And the time that they were put in jail, they took them like 2 or 3 stops beyond their bus stop. And so my grandfather's following the bus and running red lights. So he's getting all these red lights, stop signs. My children are on this bus. You can do whatever you want. I'm getting my children. So and that was a whole nother situation. But again, it's just the whole, how they just berated black people, and especially Shuttlesworth and his family. If he was doing something, Bull Connor was making sure somebody was on their job to make sure that he's getting harassed, or we know where Shuttlesworth is at all times. And so it so many stories. Again, I don't have them all, but just those are the ones that galvanized me. I went to an all-white high school, Green Hills. Great. I love the Pioneers, 86. But when we got there, they didn't want us there. We didn't want to be there because I lived in Forest Park. But it was the Green Hills Forest Park School District. And so Green Hills has all these elderly people from, it was a war town. People came back from the war. You moved to Green Hills, wonderful. But they weren't reproducing children. Whereas Forest Park, oh my goodness, it was just, it was a whole ward over there. We were just growing by leaps and bounds. You see how big. So they said, we're going to take half of Forest Park and send them over to Green Hills to keep it lucid. And then, of course, Forest Park. So it's now Winton Woods. But the point was, I live in Forest Park. Why am I being bused? But it was a decision made. But that was one of the best decisions, God. Again, I'm like Forrest Gump. wherever God sends me in life, like here, wherever, he always has a plan. And I'm like, I don't want, so my sister has a Forest Park Chargers jacket and she wears it the first day to Green Hills High School. And I'm like, Audra, really? But again, that was just her, we're in the Black Power, we're gonna do this. I'm thinking, we're behind enemy lines, you know that, right? I mean, but again, we had to learn each other's cultures, and a lot of us.
You're saying something right there.
Man of God. So when we learned how to understand each other's culture, it wasn't about black and white. We were Green Hills pioneers, and we wanted the best, one of the smartest schools. I mean, we talk about Walnut Hills. Go back and look at the records from 1982, I think is when that started, or 81, somewhere. And when they transitioned us over, we were always one of the highest academic schools in the state. Our sports were good, and then our relationships got better over time because we just learned to tolerate so much each other. But now we love each other, and all the reunions reflected. We didn't like y'all didn't like us, but look at us now.
See right there. That's what's wrong with our country right now. We've let people from the extremes of both sides.
Come on.
We can both testify to that because being pastors through this last election,
man,
Jesus have mercy.
This was horrible.
I was just praying for Wednesday to come or
Please
Jesus to come back. One of the two.
I thought it wasn't just you,
Jesus.
Right?
Be nice with it.
Bro, it was because did you get all these? So what's your opinion? I had to shut down all of my social media. And
it was hard for me too.
It was just, you get all this, oh, you're supporting her, you're supporting him. And I'm, as a pastor, you have to be neutral. I mean, you can't throw all of your eggs in one basket. But again, the basket we throw ours in is the Jesus basket.
Yes.
And so then understand if it lines up with the word of God, wonderful. But again, it became a whole black and white issue. And here we are back. And one thing I learned about the children of Israel, they took an 11 days journey. It took them 40 years.
Yes.
To get to. I see that happening.
It's happening.
He's back again. And I'm saying he's back. I mean, Trump is back in office.
Yes.
Wonderful. But whatever we didn't learn that first time, God is teaching us a lesson.
Yes.
Stop all this vitriol of cussing each other out.
Yes.
If you can't respect the man, respect the office.
Come on.
At least. But and from the church world, you see there's a lot of things coming through the social media with black church, white church. We got to, because the people who are not coming to Jesus, if they were going to come, they're looking like, y'all are already fighting each other. What do I want to get in that for? The civil war of the churches. And it's we said it, the most segregated time in America, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Everybody goes in their own little pockets, and then we meet up on Monday morning at work, and we're all looking at each other's side eye. So, man, this is going to be some good stuff to help people.
So what's going to happen, we're going to stop here, and I want to invite you to like, subscribe. We're going to be on a lot of different platforms. Like, subscribe, and share. Is that the way they say it?
That's it. You got
they
it,
tell
man.
me that. See, my daughter, my bonus daughter, is an influencer. Yeah, I think she's got like 1 million followers. I don't know. I'm just trying to get 1,000. Can we do 1,000? But like, subscribe, and share.
You said almost 1 million?
Yeah, she got 1 million. Scary, isn't it?
She's huge.
Girl makes more than I do. But that's not saying anything.
But when you can influence 1 million people, come on now. I mean, the country's only how many million?
16 years old and doing it. It's amazing.
I'm proud of her.
Like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for joining me and my dear friend Steve. And as we take on this journey, don't miss an episode. We know you're going to be blessed. God bless you. See you next time.